On the nature of sexuality. Commenter Diesel, I used to think the same about women at one point, but I cannot walk away from a riddle. And what better riddle is there but woman? It ended up blossoming into studying sexuality itself and how it transcends the sex act itself. You will find it in art, business, politics, society in general. Oddly, I could never define woman. Nothing was there. Was Weininger correct? The more time progressed, the more it became clear to me that I was trying to define a mirror. In my mind, it seemed I posted an article on femininity, but it ends up being on masculinity instead. The more I looked into the core of the woman, the more I saw the spirit of man. Women seem more like a touchstone who streaks men and see if they are gold or not. How many men had their lives transformed not by obtaining the love of a woman they wanted, and they were transformed not in the sexual way, but into something more. Almost every biography I've seen of world-changing men always contains the fact that they fell in love with a woman and did not get her. Washington, Adams, Dante, he turns Beatrice into heaven in his immortal epic. Beethoven, practically all poets, practically all famous generals. It's as if these guys saw their own wimpish, worthless reflections in the women they sought and changed their ways. I believe it was Kierkegaard who says, "It is true that behind every great man there is a woman, but it is always the woman he did not marry." A theme of Shakespeare is that when his characters condemn, they condemn themselves. If you look for this in real life, it becomes quite fun. It is amazing how many people condemn themselves. A poster on this board who rages relentlessly against all the AFCs, another frustrated chump, probably is still an AFC at heart. The antisocial hermit who says, "Those people clowning around do not understand life," condemns himself. If you combine these two, you will get reflections of people. The nice guy who sees the woman as angelic and pure, he himself is innocent and angelic. The guy that sees women as Machiavellian creatures is often himself a Machiavellian creature. The guy that sees women as bitches is himself acting like one. The guy who sees women as play toys is merely himself a play toy. And the guy who sees women only as things to screw is himself merely a thing whose purpose is to screw. It's fascinating to me to see this everywhere. One thing seems more clear. Man and women are not two, but one. Perhaps there is more truth than we realize in the ancient phrase of the two as one flesh, rather than the modern view of two atomized individuals in a legal contract. In the end, the joke is probably on us. We're trying to post and rationalize what should be natural. This site, including its sister ones, seem more and more ridiculous to me. Guys who think they are men because they get women, which are insanely easy to get anyway, are like Don Quixotes who think they are knights because they caught windmills. Women are emotional not because they are stupid, but because they play nature's role. Imagine if we men gave birth. Why, in delivery we would bite our lip, think we ought to be a man and not scream, which is a shame because screaming assists in the birth. A man knows that it is right for him to shoulder and conquer pain, not unleash it on others. If man was pregnant, he would kill the child through his own being. The woman screams, talks, babbles, unleashes her feelings, which is necessary for her to carry the child to and through delivery. It is also noticeable that children gather around the mother. They seem to relate to her better. But when the children turn to adults, they gather around the man, as he shows the example to live by. Chicks get off on power. Why do you think they go for jocks and the dudes with the defined pecs and six-packs, and not some flabby, terrible poetry-spouting loser like you? Power, baby! This is absolutely not true. Even when I was scrawny, I still scored chicks with my poetry. But it wasn't my poetry, it was my imagination that reeled them in. Musicians also get laid. Women go for rich guys and strong guys because of their self-survival. Wouldn't you marry a woman with millions? Women are more attracted to imagination than to power. They are only attracted to power in a survival way. They may marry the politician, but will sleep with the artist down the road. There was this guy who was really maxed out physically, so much so that he almost got on Baywatch. The girls nicknamed him Heaven, and so enters Pook. This guy saw me with the girls and rushed over to try to peel them away. It was like I was taking away his source of his ego. Talk about pathetic. Women sincerely want the best life they can get and choose the man who best supplies that. The power guys, either of physical strength or income or even influence, are placed in the self-survival slot. Women look around the room and wonder what income these guys are going to make. But women also want to do more than survive. They want to laugh and make the fatal mistake of romance by trying to make it last forever. The musician, the artist, the poet, all have a command of the imagination and adds to her life in that way. Women think they deserve the best life possible and will seek it through you. Quote from commenter Diesel. But I can't really feel guilty for wanting to bone a lot of girls. I don't think my views on women reflect badly on me at all. I'm just honest with myself and with the caliber of woman that is out there. If I were to meet a woman that inspired me on all levels, then yeah, I'd probably change my tune. However, I can't say that I am holding my breath for that day, and in the meantime, I'm sure as hell will not continue to live like a monk while pursuing some Quixotean quest for the perfect woman. I take what is presented to me in the course of my life. Hey Diesel, I'm not saying you or anyone should feel guilty about how you view women. Men and women agree on one thing. They both distrust women. I have a bit of a romantic notion that one day I'll meet a girl that will knock my socks off, but so far that hasn't happened yet. I think after a while nature says, "This will not do. Therefore I will place internal pressure in you to desire the long-term relationship, to marry, to have kids." In time, the savage bull doth bear the yoke. However, your point on imagination, you say that chicks don't get off on the power. Here I will continue to disagree. No, they do get off on power, but they get off on other things than that too. How can the jobless, starving artist be with that hottie? He is dreamy. When I was going to be a lawyer, chicks loved that. They see lawyers as a type of power, when in truth there are millions of lawyers crawling around who still end up being poor. Being a lawyer won't make you wealthy. They don't see that. They only see the image. If they get the impression that I am goalless college-wise, career-wise, that my only sense is to pursue my passion, artistic or otherwise, they get off on that too. It is almost like they imagine in their head, this guy will be adventurous, and they want to be a part of that life. But if you are some boring nice guy who just wants to get some basic job and rot through life, they will turn to you only as a last resort. Women want to be winners in life just as well as we do. When they are married, when they meet other couples, the women will examine each other's husbands. Who got the great catch and who didn't? Who won and who got the loser? Isn't your premise of the control over the imagination but another manifestation of power? If you can control and capture a girl's imagination, it sounds like just another form of power a man can wield over a woman. I'll do a post on this. about the women wanting the best life they can get and choosing the guy who can best give it to them. This is definitely not true. Women make incredibly stupid choices when choosing whom they marry, for what seem to be an infinite number of reasons that defy explanation, since each situation is unique. This, to me, accounts for the incredibly high divorce rate in this country. Heh, who said women judged men rationally? In her mind, that loser is not a loser. He is a spontaneous, exciting person who adds to her dull life. Women will have anything: happiness, sadness, horror, fear, joy, laughter. But they will not tolerate one thing: boredom. They may even see the loser for what he is. They then think, I will turn this guy around. He will become successful because of me. This stupid female vanity lets women marry the loser despite everyone's advice to the contrary. If what you say is true, then how come people divorce so much? Excessive expectations. Everyone believes they are super special. Women in the 18 to 26 year bracket have these huge expectations that no man can fulfill. They get married at, say, 22, and after a couple of years they get bored or realize that marriage is not some magical process of transcendence. She sees the other women her age out having fun, but she is stuck with responsibilities. Oh, if she could only shrug off the husband and be single again. Unhealthy romance, the pursuit of the lover. Healthy romance, the presence of the lover. These excessive expectations contain neither the friendship or civility that makes a marriage successful. It fulfills the way a drug fulfills, requiring new infusions to sustain the high. We've raised their romanticism so much that it's taken to be a personal and cultural panacea, a solve for everything. But not one thing solves everything. So they suffer the permanent disappointment of these excessive expectations. 20 years of affection, caring, friendship, the small favors husbands and wives do for each other is seen as boring to these cultists. But in my opinion, it is far more and greater than their stupid expectations. An obituary ought to be written. It'll be its tombstone when we bury this out-of-control romanticism for good. Romanticism, an obituary. Romanticism is an article of faith. We know what it's stuffed with. Love at first sight, the carriage of frolicking courtships, prancing couples, dialogue consisting of fantastical banquets, violins and flutes, of ballroom weddings, chandeliers, strangled poetry that converts her every part into some bizarre infinitude, and of happy homes flowing with enchanting music with 2.3 kids, 2.6 cars, 1.1 garage, and 1.4 dogs. All in all, the fountain that bubbles this vaporous romanticism is the phrase star-crossed. Romanticism is not something considered to be controlled. Rather, it is seen as something to submit to. This star-crossed love is elevated to the esteemed level known as destiny. And so this faith makes the man stuffed. These stuffed men float airily through the world. Some pop to fall in the abyss, and they wonder why suicide is at its highest rate for young men. Others just stuff themselves more and more, so that no matter what is said to them, they are so stuffed that even the sharpest, most blatant facts bounce against their rubbery, infatuated shells. Some realize that they were stuffed and turned themselves inside out. These unfortunate few shrivel with bitterness and seek revenge with getting laid everywhere and anywhere. But the rest spew out this poison and recover into the men they were. Oh, forgive me, Hallmark. If I am to doubt romanticism, I may incur the wrath of all women. But make no mistake, I war with Cupid. The way to victory is not to stab the infected with the truth. They pop and fall or increase their fantasy shell even more. Therefore, let us hold up a mirror to the infected, so they see all their maladies and so will cleanse themselves of this rot. The virus. This hyped-up romanticism can be traced to Rousseau. Disgusted with bourgeoisie love, he saw it as an empty emotional center of restrained, law-bound societies. He wanted to replace it with something more passionate. Before, especially in aristocracy, the passion of people was set for truth, honor, and power. Rousseau said, "This is dangerous. It must be replaced with something else, something that is just as absorbing. Therefore, love will now be the soul-saving experience." How did Rousseau get to this? His childhood, as he describes, "to fall on my knees before a masterful mistress, to obey her commands, to have to beg for her forgiveness, have been to me the most delicate of pleasures." Thus, in love he is entirely passive. Woman must make the first move. Camille Paglia says, Rousseau ends the sexual scheme of the great chain of being, where male was sovereign over female. Rousseau feminizes the European male persona and gives the ideal man a woman-like sensitivity. Ever since Rousseau, the culture has become increasingly romanticized. Music revolves around love. The highest-grossing movies are romantic epics like Gone with the Wind and Titanic, where the ship sinking provides merely a backdrop for the priority of the movie, the romance. Hyped romanticism has ravaged religions, priests becoming the servants of love rather than the pursuers and warriors of wisdom and truth, and then they wonder why the pews are filled with women. Politicians speak of how much love they have and strive to make themselves lovable. Romanticism has gone berserk. The infection. Many women march on through their life, stuffed with dreams of hyped-up romanticism. They are filled to the brim with excessive expectations. The high rate of divorce is not due to some moral collapse. It is due to this bizarre and absurd religion of romance. In many ways, romance is the female religion. Anniversary dates are their religious festivals. The bed becomes their altar, and sex becomes the holy sacrament. For fun, I told the women, romance, true love, none of it exists. And the women, non-surprisingly, protested bitterly. But one thing that puzzled me was this one woman who told the Pook, "I'm never going to get married. Seems so boring." I thought she would agree with this idea of romance not existing, which I do think does exist, but is misapplied to the point of absurdity. Yet she was one of the biggest protesters of it. I figured almost all young women wanted to get married, at least sometime. This one didn't, yet was the biggest believer in romance. A contradiction? Perhaps. In any past age, her life would be scorned at. It is this hyper-romanticism at work. Without this romance, there would be no license for her lifelong romance outside of marriage. It is well known that if you get the woman to think that you love them, she is well more likely to sleep with you. All the gifts and dates the AFC gives to get his sex are not some form of neo-prostitution. It is merely the exercise of this hyped-up romanticism. This explains why women, who have no desire for marriage, will be the biggest believers in romance. Their religion of romance grants license and prettifies their sometimes dangerous and reckless behavior. The inflammation. Love, love, love. It is nature's drug. A high that so many become addicted to and must always be feeling love at some part of their lives. A nice guy appears to protest this post. Ignore him, gentlemen. Women following this romanticized path means that the chase becomes the focus rather than the company of the lover. No wonder challenge works so well. No wonder once a woman gets what she wants, she goes looking for something else. The more a man is a challenge, the more a woman becomes romanticized. This is especially true for beautiful women. The curse of beauty, and even that of Don Juan's, is that you fear that you are settling when you could have gotten better. When a guy is a challenge to the beautiful woman, and let's face it, these beautiful women have flocks of guys trying to be romantic towards them in the AFC sense, it sparks the woman's romanticism. She must have her challenge and eat it, too. The nice guy yells out, "Pook, there is a matter we must discuss." Go to your platonic girlfriends to talk about your love, nice guy. Now, where were we? We know of the romanticism that nice guys embrace, for the definition of an AFC is a man who loves like a woman. But Don Juans suffer from the romanticism as well. This website has made me so picky. The problem is not the pickiness, but the idealism. Just like beautiful women, Don Juans feel they are settling if they get a chick. Remember your nice guy days when you only wanted a good, decent woman to love you? Now you want a Helen of Troy. How far we've come. The nice guy hops up on the Arcadian stage. "No more, Monsieur Pook. We must talk." "Very well, Mr. Nice Guy. What is the business that you must interrupt my post for?" "I think you know it, Pook. You insulted my girl in the park last night." "You are mistaken, sir. I made love to your girl in the park last night. She asked me to meet her there. I have her note somewhere." "But if someone is saying something to the contrary, by God, it is a slander." "You damned Pook! You would drag down a woman's reputation to hide your cowardice, but I am calling you out." "You're calling me out? Then take lessons from your girl, as she too called me out." "You libertine!" The nice guy takes out a white glove and slaps Pook. "I demand satisfaction." "You demand satisfaction? But your girl also demanded satisfaction. I cannot spend my time satisfying the demands of your circle." "You blackguard!" "I assure you, Mr. Nice Guy, that your girl is the epitome of her sex. In fact, her chief renown is for a readiness that keeps her in a state of tropical humidity as would grow orchids in her drawers in January. Your assault against me is not for my faults, but for your own." "You have no morals." "That is not true. You are the immoral one, thinking yourself a sexual Pharisee. We are called to be human, not statues." The cancer. And so floats the nice guy with his hot air romanticism. When he sees the women going for the guise of testosterone, jerks, and running to the hills to avoid his nonsense, he pops. But what of the Don Juans racing to obtain their ideal woman? After a decade or two, this is the result. Noticing their lost youth, what are these guys to do? And what about the guys who do get their idealism? Many of these guys marry absolutely gorgeous women. But gorgeous women are a standard lay. The idealism doesn't last and the divorce follows. With love being defined as the pursuit of the lover rather than the company of the lover, no wonder divorces are widespread. Rousseau is best known for his civilization of consent. Thus, marriage to people is now not some sacred bond, but a legal article of consent, something to be torn asunder whenever wished. And anyone who are aware of marriages that last know that romanticism has nothing to do with it. Marriage requires work. Go to an older married couple and spew out your romanticism and the one love to them and watch them laugh. Romeo and Juliet. Women flock to Romeo and Juliet to watch the star-crossed lovers defy society. Yet Romanticism is exactly what the play condemns. Romeo was in love with Rosalind, but when Juliet appears, any of the thoughts of Rosalind are long gone. Romeo is Don Juanish at first. He keynotes her, he kisses her, and he leaves her. So where is the tragedy? Because their love was denied, chant the women. I'm sorry, ladies. The truth is that Romeo was a whiny boy. Romeo and Juliet would have turned into a sweet much ado about nothing if Romeo had the spine of Claudio. It is Romeo's lack of being a man that causes the tragedy in the play. Pook, you exaggerate Shakespeare to fit your meaning. But look at what Shakespeare says. Alas, poor Romeo, he is already dead, stabbed with a white wench's black eye, shot through the ear with a love song, the very pin of his heart cleft with the blind bow-boy's butt shaft, and he is a man to encounter Tybalt. Already dead, and they question whether he can approach his enemy Tybalt. Even the nurse condemns Romeo. Blubbering and weeping, weeping and blubbering, stand up, stand and you be a man. For Juliet's sake, for her sake, rise and stand. Romeo is so distraught that he wants to kill himself. Witness the friar's reaction to his attempt at suicide. Hold thy desperate hand. Art thou a man? Thy form cries out thou art. Thy tears are womanish, thy wild acts denote the unreasonable fury of a beast. Unseemly woman in a seeming man. The tragedy in Romeo and Juliet is not love denied, it is Romeo refusing to be a man. He kills himself at his first chance and so kills Juliet. The Cure. Have you ever seen a very traditional Jewish wedding? The man and the woman have never talked to each other. They do not even know if they like each other, yet they marry and stay married for life. Pook, that is because they can't divorce. True, but by conventional romanticism, shouldn't the marriage eventually blow up? Yet they are happy. The point is that romanticism has no value in creating a lasting marriage. George Bernard Shaw says that marriage is like tying two people in a ship together. It doesn't matter who you are tied up to, you will make the person a lifelong partner. Comradeship makes marriages last, not romanticism. War veterans despise the war they are stuck in, but if they are asked to leave the battlefield, they will not because of their comrades. The hellish environment created bonds between these men that last throughout their lifetime. Lasting marriages also contains this comradeship. The couple goes through this hurricane of life, and by overcoming the difficulties thrown at them, it makes their bond cemented even more. So love is not weddings and flowers. Real love is deep financial problems or a sick child. But don't take my word for it. Anita Bruckner. The essence of romantic love is that wonderful beginning after which sadness and impossibility may become the rule. Aleister Crowley. Love stories are only fit for the solace of people in the insanity of puberty. No healthy adult human being can really care whether so-and-so does or does not succeed in satisfying his physiological uneasiness by the aid of some particular person or not. Beverly Jones. Romance, like the rabbit at the dog track, is the elusive, fake, and never attained reward which, for the benefit and amusement of our masters, keeps us running and thinking in safe circles. Romanticism, farewell, and the oneism, adieu. Give me the love songs of ages past, Give me Don Juan. Give me Madame Venus. Give me elopement by ladder and rope on a moonlit night. Let neighbors stare and adore, for their lives are measured by propriety and yardsticks. Let the rabbit run its course, for we have stopped running in circles, chasing the rabbit romance, on and on. And by doing so, the circle breaks. We are finally free. Let yourself fail. The reason why you are here at this website, improving in ways you never dreamed possible before in your life, was because you failed at achieving what you wanted with women. Listen to yourself before you came to this website. Oh, how I have failed with the ladies! If only I knew what to do! If only I knew the secrets of attraction, love, and women! And so you are here gobbling up more information than ever. And this is good. But do you allow yourself to fail? Or do you go search posts on exactly how you should act on a date? Do you try to push your comfort zones? Or do you read the pages of seduction material for the umpteenth time? Failure is a necessary component for growth. Let yourself fail. Not all the time. You are not the nice guy who crashes and burns without a clue and does it again and again and again. Don Juans are made by failing, not by succeeding. When you fail, you have information sent back on things that can be worked on. Are you too scrawny? Do you not have fun dates? Is your personality the problem? Do you let yourself have fun? Are you scared of sex? What is it? A failure can help you more than reading every damn post on this board. Failure will aid you much more than the whole of the Don Juan Bible. Going into Don Juan is not a light switch. You do not stuff this information in your head and become a drone of the ideas here. You need to fail. You must fail. You will always learn more about failing because it won't be hypothetical. You won't be having fantasies of you being a blazing Don Juan and going from girl to girl. No, you will be out there, which is where you will learn everything, and you will fail. This failure points out where you need to improve. But Pook, if I fail, I will lose the girl. For every love that dies, a new one is born. It is a law of nature. Keep the focus on you. So what if you lose the girl? Another girl will quickly take her place. If you wait on the first girl, you will be worse off than when you meet the second girl. Fail now. But Pook, I remember the pain before. I am learning this information so I will not enter that pain again. Let me tell you what is more painful. It is getting trapped in a tortuous cycle of devouring more and more information with no action. In this case, the nice guy is more admirable than you because at least the nice guy allows himself to fail. You never allow yourself to fail, so you will never grow. But Pook, isn't the point of the information to avoid failure? This is the number one common mistake that makes longtime regulars here still stuck in their cycle. They think the information is going to remove failure. That is not the point. Just as in order for your muscles to grow, you must let them fail and fill in the void with protein, sleep, etc. So too that in order to grow, not in your mental self, but in your real self out there, you must let yourself fail. And if you do fail, fill in the void with information and feedback here. But Pook, why should I intend to fail? The point is not to intend to fail. It is to let yourself fail. If you fail with a girl, it is an opportunity that you missed about yourself. Let us repeat it again. After all, risk is the key to self-improvement. The number 2 common mistake here is people thinking that they are not allowed to fail because of all this information they have soaked up. In other words, that if they fail, they aren't really Don Juans. Let me tell you something. Don Juans are not made on message boards. They are made out there. Whatever happens to you out there, no matter how bad it is, Come back here and we will help you. You are beyond your nice guy days. But flaws can only be removed by confronting them, never by masking them. But Pook, I was hoping I would fail so I could improve, but damn it, I succeeded beyond my wildest expectations. I was looking forward to failing so I can improve, but the hot chick accepted my advances and dates. How could she do that? Now you see the point of it all. Even though there are tons of posts that say not to fear rejection or that she is missing out on you, you are still scared of failing. Failure is actually a good thing since it helps you grow. It is good to imagine success, but do not fear failure. Embrace it like the gift it is, since it allows you to grow. For if you don't fail now, you will fail later on. Get it over with. It is a win-win situation, so go out there and let yourself fail. How I came to this site was because I failed badly with the woman I wanted. Looking back through my Pook years, I see that the times I failed was when I got my head snapped on straight and truly changed. Turning a failure with a woman to make it a learning experience, just one bump along the road of success, sounds good in seminars and all. But you've got to risk, and you've got to roll your dice. Nice guys are nice because they don't want to fail. Why else do nice guys listen to womanly advice? Why else do nice guys give chocolate, flowers, poetry to the woman? They certainly don't do it out of the spirit of love, although many do, these infatuated chumps. Many do it because they think it is the routine, and they don't want to fail. They want to play it safe. "May I kiss you?" the nice guy asks. He doesn't want to make her uncomfortable. If this nice guy risked failing, he would just kiss her and go for it. He could be slapped, or she could say, "Thank God, I thought he was gay," and all is good. Some here still act like those nice guys, with the only difference is that they listen to the men instead. You've got to sprinkle risk in your life. As forum poster Antidump said, you do want to protect your heart, but some are so scared of failing that they literally cocoon their life. To the loners, you know who you are. You don't think you are good enough, have the right things, do the right things to let a woman into your life. But you do. You loners aim at your comfortable world, but do so at sacrificing long-term happiness. Let a woman into your life. You'll probably enrich her life more than you think, and she will definitely enrich yours. To the shy guys, you know who you are. You are worried what others might say, what she might think, what everyone might say. But the truth is, you could walk in front of a bus and you'd be forgotten in a day. No one is going to care that you lusted after a chick. Even chicks forget. Go for it. Yield to your desire for once. To the addicted to so suave crowd, you know who you are. You read more and more and more and more information, yet you sit in front of your computer. The information you see, it is a novelty, something new for you to think about. But once you go out and fail with the ladies, all the information literally changes. Rather than being a novelty to think about like some new philosophy to adopt, it becomes addendums to your battle plan. You exit the world of theory and go out there, since that is where chicks are. Only feminists reside in the world of theory, and you don't want those anyway. Everyone came to this site with problems. This site corrected many of them. Alas, the site also created a few new problems. One of them is that the guys are scared to fail, especially with all this information around. They think that with this information that they won't fail. It is fun to fail, and the zeal of life. Let yourself fail. Also, failure is the only way to trigger metamorphosis. You can keep on trying to do something, and although you may not make it the first few times, you have failed only when you hit the dirt and refuse to get back up and try again. Only by failing can you succeed. Don Juaning is like a dance. You can learn all the steps, but unless you go out and trip yourself, or step on her a couple times, you will never ever dance. Some guys are so scared of failing that they memorize how they should act and so on, whereas we have one thought going through our heads. Whee! Some men see women and cry, "Why?" But I approach women and say, "Why not?"